Okay, say when. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Coffee with Father James. I have my music mug because I just finished reading an email about the music that's going to be taking place at the Eucharistic Congress on October 17th to 20th. Now, the Eucharistic Congress was spoken about this past weekend. We had a 5-week preaching series based on the fact that for 5 weeks, the Church Universal throughout the world read the Gospel from John chapter 6, which the overall theme of that is the Eucharist. And we started with a summary this past Sunday of how God desires to feed us, to satisfy our deepest hungers, how the bread that God will give is Jesus. And Jesus doesn't just give the bread of life, He is the bread of life. And so we looked at those themes, how Jesus gives His flesh for the life of the world. He did so on the cross. And then what originally begins as almost like a metaphor becomes beyond a metaphor. The Eucharist is not just a metaphor of the body and blood of Jesus. His flesh and blood are true food and true drink. We looked at how Jesus is truly, we say in our tradition, truly present in the Eucharist. In week 5, we got to the end of John chapter 6, where we see something quite extraordinary. We saw how literally the teaching of Jesus about the Eucharist was offensive. He even asked His disciples, "Does this offend you?" And we heard there twice that many of His disciples no longer went with Him. They turned back. Many of His disciples, not many of the crowd or many of the Sadducees, but His disciples, His followers. And not just some, many. There's no other place in the Gospels where this happens. And it brings us to what the people said. They said, this is hard. This teaching is difficult. Who can accept it? It's difficult. And we reflected on how in today's climate, our culture, it's actually difficult not just to believe in the Eucharist, which is actually, if you've never found that belief difficult, maybe you need to meditate on what it is we actually believe. I mean, it's incredible, incredible. But it's difficult to follow Jesus today because society doesn't support that, doesn't celebrate it. It's difficult to be a Christian. It's difficult to be a Catholic. And the main point we looked at this past weekend was, if you're going to follow Jesus, you're going against the flow. You're going against the flow. Now, you already know that, obviously. But what it means for us is that as we live out our faith, we've got to live it in the consciousness that there is a current. And like anything, if you've ever been in strong water, if you don't adjust, if you don't lean into, or if you're in a kayak or something, if you don't, choose your direction with the consciousness of the current, you're going to be moved off course. You're not going to reach your destination. And what that means is that we can't do church or live our faith today the way we did 30, 40, 50 years ago, or the way you did 5 years ago when you lived in a different country, because it's not going to be enough. And so we need to, as a parish, change how we think. In the past number of years, if you think about it, the only parishioners who were expected to grow or learn were young people. We did catechism for kids. Adults never were expected to learn anything. I mean, we expected children to learn and grow. We expected it. Didn't expect it from adults. And I think we need to shift that around. Think of it like when you're on an airplane, they have the safety videos and the little masks come down. If you think about it, it always says if you're accompanying a child, put your mask on first and then put it on the child. And that's what it's like today. We're going through this turbulence and the masks have dropped. And if we don't get the adults into a healthy place, doesn't matter what you do with kids or how much you teach kids, they're not going to last. And so we need to normalize adult faith formation, adult evangelization. Now, I'm saying all this because that's really the context for the Eucharistic Congress on October 7th to 20th, because the Archbishop is saying, hey, this is a special time, we need to stop, and as a diocese, try to come together. And so this experience is going to be like a diocesan retreat. It's going to be held in Halifax in 2 locations, St. Agnes Church and St. Mary's Basilica. There's going to be incredible music. I just read the email about the music. Going to be wonderful music, different celebrations, different talks, and a great time to just come together with people from around the diocese. And so I would love if we had an incredible turnout from Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish. So there is a link in the show notes, in the description below, and you see it right here on screen, what that URL is. Please click on that. We also sent out an email to all of our parishioners with the registration information. If you didn't get that email and you're a parishioner, well, guess what? You're not signed up. We need you to sign up because we would love for you to get all our emails. So please click that link and book off this time. Come with your family, come with someone else. Let's come together and show our support for this initiative and have an amazing turnout so that we can grow, so that we can go deeper, so that we can become more connected. Because this teaching is difficult and we're called to accept it. God bless.